And then, boom.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network or anyone affiliated. There will be mature and possibly immature content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't listen at all. It's very poorly produced. Take me to your leader.
Welcome to the Monster Castle Radio Show. For the extreme paranormal listener. And here is your host, the Wolfman, Mike.
This is where all readings end.
You have nowhere else to vent your torment like a man. You know that they lie to you. Hear the sound, seismic echoes in the ground. Forget your misery, shine a laser across the sea. It's quite clear when you're in the atmosphere. Where aliens appear.
I have to agree. Well, just the idiocy of what he said. If the Earth is spinning, well, number one, it's not spinning along the equator. It's tilted 23.4 degrees, but that's beside the point. So it's spinning in the equatorial area below the equatorial area, somehow bulges out from the spin. Wouldn't the equator bulge out more? It wouldn't be pear-shaped. It would be ellipsoid.
That's such a good question. Yes, exactly. And I think they're honestly, I'll just I could sum up.
We are at the top of the hour, folks.
Got a break.
Yeah, we got a break here. And we'll be right back on Monster Castle Colonel with the Flat Earth head. Interesting stuff here.
appreciate that call. I really, really do, and do continue to call into the program. And we'll move right on to another call here. Hi, you're on the air. Hello, you're on the air.
How are you? It's Wolfman calling in. Shout out to Deep in Talk and Amy Morton and the whole bunch.
Well, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Hi, Stanton.
Hi.
How are you? I'm wondering about if you've done any research on the Billy Meyer case.
Yes, I have.
And what your thoughts are on that?
Well, I haven't been able to validate that he is who he says he is. I mean, you know, that Billy is in contact with aliens and he leads a whole group of people and all that. That much is true. But and as a matter of fact, I did a long debate with Michael Horn, who's his American representative.
Yes.
And I'm still not satisfied that it's legitimate.
Okay.
I'm not saying there is a guy named Billy Meyer. There is a real person. I don't mean that.
Here's what I ask him about Flat Earth.
Yeah.
But,
well, does that answer your question, Wolfman, or did you have anything else?
I've got another question for him. I was wondering if there is any experimental military base around the Lake Erie area, because I've seen a lot of things out there.
Yes.
Hang on, we're getting to the Flat Earth one from Stanton Friedman here. I just thought I'd play this.
I'm sorry, I'll let you.
This is the call,
I don't know.
Walt. This is the call.
Around there. There are loads of military bases around.
And then you call them
nothing
afterwards.
that you know of. And
No,
what would
not
you?
offhand.
Okay, what would you have to say to all these people that believe? If you had something you could say to these people that believe in flat Earth, I was wondering what would you say to them?
Oh no, here we go.
I would say I've done a lot of looking in recent months, and I'm satisfied that the Earth, like all the other planets, is round, and like the sun is round, and the notion that the sun is and the moon are the same size and only a few thousand miles away doesn't fit anything we know about. You know, there's a lot of infrared, ultraviolet, et cetera, coming from the sun. We have signals that we can reflect radar from the bodies in the solar system and stuff. And I was surprised when I started digging. You know, even in Columbus's time, everybody knew the Earth was round. There were religious arguments that got brought up about that, but I'm satisfied that the Earth is round, it's big, you know, in comparison to the distance between my house and my neighbor's house kind of thing. But I couldn't find any evidence to support it. I can see where people would raise the questions. And if you're out on the ocean, you look out, well, it looks flat to me. That's good enough, isn't it? Well, look at the scale.
Dude, you gotta let me jump in right here.
The Earth isn't 500 miles in diameter. It's 8,000 miles in diameter. Mm-hmm. And we can navigate all kinds of crazy systems. I mean, they've also said, and I guess I resent something else, one of the people who wrote a foreword for my book was Dr. Edgar Mitchell, my book, Flying Saucers in Science. And I met the man, and I have a great deal of respect for him, an astronaut, sixth man to walk on the moon. Well, basically, the flat earthers are saying all these space programs, man going out there, are baloney. Didn't happen.
Yeah,
well,
they are.
I don't think all these guys are lying. And I resent the fact, as a matter of fact, I've met several astronauts, and it's not going to have a big booster of NASA. As I've said to people, when I was in the space program back in the 60s, I thought we'd have a base on the moon by the end of the century, last century, and that we'd have gone off to Mars already. So I am not impressed with NASA's leadership. They need somebody like Admiral Rickover, who built the nuclear navy, despite opposition to him. So I appreciate the fact that it takes drive and leadership and so forth. And I'm disappointed. Why didn't we go to the moon again after Apollo 17?
I would love to tell you why we
stuff like that.
Well, I heard that they were scared away.
Well, sure. The easy answer is the aliens told us stay the heck off our moon, buddy.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on, but maybe more than most, I appreciate the fact that governments can keep secrets. I helped keep some when I was working on with their airplanes and stuff like that. And I wrote a report. I did a study.
Programming going on right there.
Title: Analysis and Evaluation of Fast and Intermediate Reactors for Space Vehicle Applications. One word was left out of the title: Soviet. I was looking only at the Soviet technology.
Boy,
and
he
the question
goes
was,
on.
could they build nuclear reactors to put them
There
in
is
space?
no shortage of
And I
verbiage.
probably was the only
Stanton's around.
person in the United
My
States
God,
at the time.
eh?
I'm living in Canada now, but who was pleased when Cosmos 954 came down, because I had predicted.
You should be in a room
that,
with
they
him.
were doing all the right things.
With
They
the
published all the
folks
right
out talking
papers.
to
He's not even talking about flat Earth anymore.
I know, he just goes.
Nuclear
Yeah.
power plants for use in space. And that had one on it, and it turns out they've launched 33 or so. The United States has launched one.
No, Canada or anywhere else.
But I don't even have a copy of my final report.
Well, I appreciate Wolfman's call and his question.
That's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
First
then
of
you
all,
call in later. I'll have that one.
Yeah, man, I want to get a copy of that from you. It's not the one I remembered, actually. The other one was when I thought you had called in on that Dark 30 radio. One of those. You sent me the link one night and we both called in.
Yeah, this is the episode.
Oh, no, but we've done that a couple
sure.
of times. Yeah, I think
Okay,
we've done that a
well,
couple
maybe.
times.
I thought it was
Gang-
Stanton Friedman that we picked on. So it could be.
It surely is. I know we both have gotten a few times. So, but man, I mean, just what the moon thing. Why didn't we go back? Not just why didn't we go back? Why is it there's some kind of advertisement beaming down at us from the moon 7? Because we all know there's going to be freaking made. They're going to be all Jack.
Here's all you need to know right here. NASA in 1992, they made a public statement and they said that, hey, by the way, we just found out about the fucking what's it called? The radioactive ring around our what's it called?
Van Allen belt?
Oh, the Van Allen belt?
Yeah, the Van
Oh,
Allen.
yeah.
Right. So 1992.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
By
yeah.
the way, we found out that the Van Allen belt is impassable, and we predict that within 10 to 20 years, we might be able to figure out how to get humans past the Van Allen belt. Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, we did it.
Right there. We're supposed to have gone to the moon, which is on the other side of that belt, 20 fucking years before this statement. What the fuck are you saying? It can't be both.
More people don't believe in the moon landings than actually believe it. I might.
At this point, I think you're right, sir.
The moon landings are fucked. There's no fucking way that they went there with that technology. And that's the only technology. Let's go back to the 60s and the 70s if you want to really grant it some grace. The 70s, right? Any other form of technology, TVs, phones, computers, video games, anything has greatly expanded and has evolved since then. The only form of technology of all time ever that has never evolved is the technology that apparently, supposedly, took us to the moon in the late 60s. Really? We haven't invented better rockets since 1968? We haven't invented better computers since 1968? Like, what the fuck, man? Like, what? Just fuck. That's my main thing I want to say is fuck.
Well, yeah, like fuck, man, like fuck.
Fucking A.
And Gigi, I don't know if you noticed, your board notifications are coming through. I mean, your Discord notifications are coming through your board somehow. So can you turn those off if you could?
Are you hearing the little clink noise? when I mute?
Yeah, that's. I know where it's coming from now.
I'm not getting any. I can close Discord, but I haven't gotten any notifications. But
Well,
yeah, let me close
when
it
it's,
just in case.
I have mine turned off, but every time it beeps, your icon is lighting up. So something's going on there.
That's because I'm hitting my button to talk.
Oh, okay. And maybe that's going blip, blip, blip. I don't know.
No, it's just
That is my habit from the shows we do all week long. Yeah, with the button ready to go just to keep external noises off. So if I'm making the bleep noise, I'll try to stop.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, no,
I thought it was Gigi's. Anyways, if we have to listen to it, and if somebody notices it, then, but I can't stop it. It's coming through somewhere there. So, anyways, that's my disclaimer for the horrible sound.
Yeah, let's just.
No, it's not that. It sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, actually, it does sound pretty good. Yeah.
That's what Darren says. Let's see. I got tons of questions.
Shout out to Darren.
You know, I got tons and tons of questions here that I haven't even got to yet. Okay.
I'm ready for questions.
Okay. All right.
Well, let's.
Okay. So, what is your idea of the model that you've come up with yet? How does the flat Earth model or do you even have one anymore?
Truly, we've really spent more time we thought might even be close to than we have anything else, both round and flat. Because, I mean, you know, there's still a huge contingency out there that have to try to fit this all into some kind of void. So then you have the pizza planet people who have the nice little disc, you know, and floating on the turtle's back. No, I'm being silly. But we don't know. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Yes, we are trying to work it out. Yes, we have some amazing minds working. In fact, what is going on right now with Cammy on our show and this whole thing with the moon and the sun and the dipolar magnet fields, and we've had another guy that maybe caught the actual dipolar magnetic ley lines in the sky camera, and just really make us see that not only is it we were told, it could be so far beyond anything we can conceive of. I mean, it could literally be that we're creating this thing by just the second as we are living this world, as we are, as we're interacting with this three-dimensional grid, as we're, you know, as we're here, like we're changing the shape of it just by having this conversation. You know what I mean? It's
yes, we are. Now I'm sorry, but what's your name again? Walt,
yeah.
Walt. Okay, because honestly, I think I speak for most of the audience. You've been cutting out a little bit from here and there, but I think we got most of what you're saying.
I have. I didn't know I was having audio problems. Is it me maybe muting too soon? Talking?
Yeah,
I don't know. All I know is that I'm connected to a 400 megabit Ethernet connection, so the possibility of me being the issue is.
Oh yeah, no. It's man. I'm in the country here, so it's very possible.
But I
could be your internet, or it could be just your Discord attenuation. If you go to the user settings at the bottom, that little cog, and then you hit voice and video, you're going to see something that has an orange, a bar that's orange and then green.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and if you turn that down so that there's more green, almost all the green is showing.
It's automatically doing it. Take that off.
Honestly, I think he's good. That was just a random, you know.
Is that better?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, you sound good.
I think that will be better. Sometimes it cuts the first part of your sentence off or the last part.
Absolutely. Well, I know that even on Skype, we've had to turn off some of the automated crap.
Yeah,
for that very
you got to
reason.
turn the automated shit off. Yep.
Yeah, I turned it off. Okay, cool.
Okay, good. It sounds way better.
What about all the noise suppression, etc.? Man, I'm sorry. I hate to do live production. We do it on our show too, so don't worry. It's not.
You know what? It sounds a lot better. I'm glad we figured that out.
Yeah, that
sounds a lot better now.
It's all good, man. Don't even worry about it.
I'm glad you brought it out, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, because it was starting to be a little hard on the ears. It's way better now.
And again, my habit is to sit on the mute button. I mean, we do. Okay, so TFR, we do have to watch our language and watch extraneous noises because we're going out over Chris's stuff, and it's a little more, you know, he's got advertisers. They actually pay for ad time and things. So it's just a habit. I stay on that mute button. So I'll try to stop doing that. You know, like typing and things like that. I'll try not to.
Yeah, that's fine if I hear some typing noises or whatever from the guest. I'm used to that. I try to keep things clean of the other background noises and stuff. So we got it really good this time. So let's stop talking about the sound and go on with the show.
All right, so questions. You had questions.
I've got another one. Okay, so in the one model that you explained to me, how you said that the sun is smaller and it goes above the Earth, circulates around. To me, okay, then that would mean that the sun would get smaller in the sky as it moves away and before it goes down the horizon, which does not do. So that model doesn't work for me.
No.
I've actually seen pictures with a very good lens filter for the sun applied, and it does show size difference of the sun as it goes away from us. Now,
yeah, but it seems to get bigger when it goes down, not smaller.
Well, now that's when you start getting into atmoplane and different layering and how there is an actual, like, let me see, how do I explain this? Okay, remember that scene in, what was it, damn it? The Ant movie. Not ants, but Flick. And he took the little water droplet and put it in the rolled up leaf and turned it into a telescope. Okay, so imagine that the atmosphere is filled with millions of little tiny droplets of water. It's a bunch of freaking microscopes. Magnifying glasses. So now take that idea and turn it into a completely randomized thing that's affected by temperature, by air pressure, by the proximity to that heating device up there that we call the sun. All those things make it almost impossible, number one, to figure out what the hell it is, to figure out where the hell it is, to actually get any kind of model going, because any video game designer will tell you the ultimate goal with people like Peter Molyneux and all these are to make a world that really works with atmosphere and dust falling in the room and shit like that. That's just not doable in ones and zeros. So,
yes,
we're trying to do it between, like, this guy with he made a model with coat hangers and tinfoil, and she's got a computer graphic, and this person pulled out their miroscope and have a different, we're having to piecemeal this thing together. We can't just sit down and click it into a computer program because, the programs are generally all based on the heliocentric model. So when you put in sun distance, it automatically throws in 93 point whatever million and that kind of thing. So I hear the echo again too. I just noticed. Is it me?
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay.
I heard some echo too. Yeah.
I thought it was me again.
It's not you.
It's not.
But
yeah, it's okay.
It's to me, just asking these questions, just getting these questions out there, getting people to doubt the authority, to give up nanny government, and to not think just because that fucking dude's got a lab coat on, I have to listen to him. Just that alone would be making all of this worthwhile for me, for us, for what we're doing. Because, that's really, damn it, I'm getting all spun out because there's so many directions here. It's like asking the question, okay, how can this lab even be in place? How can it be all these millions of people involved in this huge lab? Well, it doesn't. It's this guy that's going to work every day at NASA, that's trying to earn his paycheck to feed his family. He's pushing buttons. He's taking the info he got from his boss. The boss got it from his boss. They got it from the textbook that was written by the guy who got that information from the other textbook. It's not like there's a cabal sitting there going, the Earth's flat. We're fucking their heads up. It's just Joe Blow at his buttons trying to make his money. And so he does suddenly figure out that all the shit he's pushing these buttons about is a lie. So what's he going to do? Go to his boss and say, hey, take my money away. Take my life credits completely away from me because I figured out the Earth might be flat. It's not a big, huge, necessarily all-reaching master conspiracy. It just takes a few people to keep it going in place at the top, and the rest is just, that's what I was told.
And what was Elon Musk quoted as saying just a week ago, he would like the average age of the workers at SpaceX to be in their early 20s. What does that tell you? He wants a bunch of I mean, he may have been kind of joking when he said it, but
he wants them young and inexperienced and not
impressionable. They're going to work their asses off.
Yeah,
and
so they're going to look up to him because he's got all this money and hoo-ha-ha.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, why? That doesn't even make sense. Why would he want some people with experience? Smart people with experience.
With smart experience and years of doing it.
And wisdom.
Well, how about this?
That work for him.
It's not going away. People are talking about it's just too in our face now. The more experienced the people are, the more in the know they are, and the less they can be bought, I guess, maybe.
Well, I think you start thinking about what's more important as you get older and realize it's not necessarily the money. It makes things maybe easier and stuff. It really doesn't. It's not the thing that's really important. You can't take it with you. When you're sick in bed and dying, thinking about your money is not a big comfort. But the people around you are. Definitely. So you're able to step outside that money box, that money holding you hostage a little bit more. You realize that you can make it and maybe not be perfect, but life is short, and if you spend your time doing that, and that's where he wants the young ones, the ones that are trying to make something of themselves and think they got to make their mark in the world right now, and that's what they should be doing. But he takes advantage of them.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? What's crazy is the fact that there are people out there that are spending their whole fucking life trying to convince people that there is no land in the North Pole. They're trying to convince people that there's no land beyond the South Pole. That is what's fucking crazy.
Or that it's just simply too dangerous to go to, just like in Truman Show.
Yes.
Truman, they scared him from trying to leave.
Yeah, but it wasn't too dangerous, was it? It wasn't too dangerous. It was just that he didn't know about it. That's
right. Well, think about it this way. A long time ago, when they did say the world was flat, they wouldn't go beyond a certain point because, it was too dangerous. The unknown is always dangerous to human beings, and some people take advantage of others that have never visited, aren't aware of it, aren't actually there. Like, I can describe Hawaii to you. If you've never been there, I can give you an idea, but until you go there, you don't get the perspective. It is the same thing.
Have you ever seen the ancient Japanese map of the Earth?
Oh, yeah.
Back from 1200.
They also have one that was from during the Middle Ages by a guy that was, I believe it was Germany or one of those where he his map says South Pole was there.
No, I don't. I know what you're talking about, but no, what I'm talking about is there is. So, like I mentioned earlier on the show, Richard Admiral Byrd, right?
Yeah, I went to the inner Earth.
Operation. Yeah, there's all that stuff. But in one of his first interviews, before he was, before they told him what to say and not to say, he did this interview before he came back to anybody. That's one of the craziest, that's one of the most beautiful things about that interview. And anybody can look it up. It's from like 1952.
Yeah, it was right before they were going to do he was supposed to go down the streets of New York for a parade.
And trust me when I say, none of his superiors would have let him say anything that he said during that interview. He had no idea that he was out of bounds. But what he said was there was a continent south of the south part of Antarctica, meaning not the south side of Antarctica, but a whole nother continent south of Antarctica.
The guy asked him if there's any other lands to explore, and he tells him, hell yeah.
When you look,
there was a big hole that opened up.
Maps, there are maps going back from 1200 AD that depict a continent exactly the size that he describes right on the south side of Antarctica. And when you look back at the history of GPS and all of our navigational bullshit today, it's all the Department of Defense. It's all the Department of Defense, which is all under NATO. It's all, in other words, if there's anything that they don't want us to see, then we're not going to see it. It's that simple.
Hello, Mr. Gigi. It's Igor. Igor. Hello, Mr. Gigi.
Eat his ass, Igor.
I might have to electrocute him. Igor. Very many sound problems he is giving me.
Please give me some shredded cheese.
Mr. Gigi. Well, we'll probably give him one more chance because.
Oh, hold on. Let me turn that down.
Electrocute! Thank you, everyone, for letting me electrocute him.
Oh my gosh, yes. What a mess. Yes. Very well done, actually. Great electrocution.
Very nice.
It was excellent electrocution. And we'll be back shortly. We're having a short break here.
Did I forget to mention a thing? She could sing with a fifth dimensional ring in a voice that'll sound like angels coming from the sky. She could sing. She could sing. She was a groovy little baby with a fifth dimensional ring in a voice. That's right, alright, dig it, yeah. From the Wolfman, sing it out now, yeah. Here we go. Groovy little baby from the fourth dimension. Did I forget to mention one thing? She could sing. Groovy little baby with a fifth dimensional ring in a voice that is. She could sing like an angel coming from the sky. She could sing. Groovy baby with a fifth dimensional ring in a voice that is, yeah, come from the sky.
You're here with Dave Cruz and Wolfman Mike. And please listen to our new network.
KTLK DB TheFringe.fm.
All right. Everybody come on out and listen. And we're going to have a lot of fun now because we all joining forces. All right. And this is going to be where the disclosure comes from. Yeah. It's where all the freaks hang out.
This is where all the real freaks hang out.
Flat Earth. You have nowhere else to vent your torment. Flat Earth. You know that they lie to you. Hear the sound, seismic echoes in the ground. Forget your misery, shine a laser across the sea. It's quite clear when you're in the atmosphere. Aliens appear. There's a This will take offense. It makes no common sense. Flat Earth head. Everybody laughs at you.
The Earth is maybe stranger than any kind of reality that was. The truth is stranger than fiction. Goodbye. I am going back to the dungeon now.
Oh, goodbye, Igor. Hey, I'm back. Well, that was nice. I really enjoyed the electrocution. Sorry, Gigi, I had to electrocute you. Poor guy. Is everybody... Oh, yeah. Are you guys still here?
I'm here.
All right.
So I
Yeah.
had a question for Flat Earth Head, if I can throw this out there. It's kind of a curveball considering what we've been.
All right, let's go. I get my catcher's mitt.
I just looked at your timeline on Twitter, and I see you reposted the chimpanzee on Instagram. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Is there any chance there's a fake line of animals out there? Like, I don't buy zebras, okay? I think they're just painted. I just don't buy them.
Dude, what the fuck is a platypus?
What
the fuck is a platypus? Yeah, guy, I'm all about the whole cryptozoology thing.
Yeah, platypus.
Platypuses are like really super old too.
And they got bills on them like a duck, but they're a mammal.
Yeah.
They're like leftovers.
I actually had a pet.
Leftovers and put them together.
Right, exactly. I had a pet. My head just went blank. Just gone. Not raccoon. Possum. And they've got like a hand on their back feet. They have a hand. It's a freaking opposable thumb, just like a monkey, just like we have. It's insane. And then he would hang off my arm by his tail. He was huge. It was crazy.
They look like those radiated rats.
Yes, exactly. That's what I called him when I'd walk around. He was little in my pocket. I called him Rat.
Through a cat door while I was house sitting one time, and I don't know why, but it came at me and it jumped at me and hissed. And there was a claw hammer sitting there, and I grabbed the hammer as it came up, and it was like automatic pilot, and I buried the claw hammer in its head.
There you go. They are vicious if they're not yours.
And it ran right out the cat door and never saw it again, never found it in the woods, nothing.
Yeah,
with
they're
a claw
pretty
hammer
rough
in
if
its
you're
head.
not.
Yeah.
If they're not your friend, don't fuck with them for sure. Yeah.
No, I was just sitting there minding my own business, but there was I was eating, and it just came through and just went, freaked me out.
Well, to get back to your question, though, in seriousness, Jewish producer, there's a whole lot of really strange things if you look into the whole idea of the Nephilim, the fallen angels, some of the creatures that have been unearthed in some of the unknown archaeology, things with literal horns and wolf heads, and shout out Wolfman Mike. Just crazy stuff. Yeah. Like I said, Flat Earth's where I'm at now, but I've been all over the map with the other. So if you think about the fact that part of the satanic agenda is to transhumanize us, to completely eliminate our humanity, which, is pretty fucking awesome, I think, humanity. So the whole agenda of transhumanism, bionics, adding chips to our brain to fight the coming AI masters, the cloning idea, the cloning center. You know how long we've been able to clone shit? Way back, so...
Yeah, I think
kind of
humans are so much less significant than we would like to think, but I do not want to take away from Jupro's answer, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you were saying. I think we're more significantly more significant than we think we are. We're opposing that one, GG. Can I electrocute you?
I think that deserves another zap. Exactly. I mean, I think that's part of what the whole agenda of ball Earth versus flat Earth is. You know, if you're clinging to this little cinder that's flying through an infinite void with all kind of cosmic disasters ready to befall you at any minute, including this test that's coming up next week. That's an asteroid impact test being put on by FEMA and NASA. Hello, a drill. When's the last time a drill went live? I don't know, 9/11, Sandy Hook. Pick one. Anyway.
You know what? I think it's really obvious that humans in this planet are obviously the center of attention. I don't care who you talk to, who you ask. We're obviously at the center of it. I don't care what that means, spiritually or physically. It's just if you look at the evidence, this is where all of the focus is attention, is where we are. So obviously we are some sort of significance to somebody, and we're pretty important. But at the same time, I don't know if we're the most important people in the universe. I guess that's what
it's a matter of subjective, I guess. I think. But I agree with you that we are a focus, and it has something to do with, in my mind, something to do with the aliens, creating the space for this planet to accelerate in its evolution, and us too. And we came out much more than what they thought we would. And they're waiting. We're going to make the change. If we're going to get the uptake of it or not. If we're going to change the way we do things, and instead of destroying each other and destroying things, seeing who we really are and remembering who we were. Because
right. Absolutely. Us remembering who we are is a big key to this whole thing, I think.
Yep.
Yes. And, I kind of glanced over it just generally, but I did a huge amount. Well, hell, most of my life I've dug into the whole question of aliens and other beings among our world and how they interact with us in not too pleasant ways sometimes. So that was also a big stumbling block, if you will, for me to dismiss space so easily, or at least the space model that we've been given.
Well, it's funny. When our country started, our founding fathers, most of them believed in the plurality of worlds, meaning that there were other beings on other planets, and we weren't, the only thing, in the whole universe that, was sentient or whatever. And, and I find that it's funny that people now fight it. Oh no, there's no other people but us. It's just, it makes no sense that there we're just a fluke. No,
that's just ludicrous. I mean, that's like way beyond mathematically improbable, right?
Yeah, something's possible. Even in the word impossible says I'm possible. It's impossible until it happens. Then it's not.
So I know a lot of you guys are very alien oriented. I've heard a lot of the shows. I know a lot of the talk. I know you guys are big fans of art shows and the newer stuff. So one of those maps I shared with Mike, and there's another map. In fact, it's the one I think that JP was talking about earlier from the Hawaiian newspaper, the Kobayashi map that shows that continent out past the Antarctica ring. Yes. Well, I mean, if you think about those being more advanced continents because they've been here longer in this model, if that makes any sense. Like, again, this is all speculation, but they are the aliens. They are the ones with the advanced technology that are feeding it to our government. They are the ones that are the puppet masters and all this kind of stuff that if you take the aliens and move them to lands beyond the ring, it kind of starts making sense again.
Man, just like there's different kind of human beings with different perspectives and different ways of living their lives.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with aliens, there's the good guys and there's the bad guys. There's the guys that we don't really care for. But it's funny that you say it's on the south side because Hawaiian Islands, the island of Kauai is the only one that's not made by the current volcanic stuff that's been going on. It's actually an island that sunk, and what you walk on now is actually the tops of the mountain. And it was part of a continent that Mu, or whatever name you, Lemuria, whatever name you wanted to, and that wrapped around there, and that would make sense.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there's a big gap between.
Actually, the naval, considered one of the third eye of the planet.
Right. Even on the ball map, even on the ball globe, there's a huge gap between South America and Australia and all that. There could be a huge island right there that we're not even, even if it was a ball, there could be a huge island right there that we're not informed about.
Yeah.
That could be their
got a new
hidden
continent
land.
now, so we've got a new continent now over in New Zealand. Outside of New Zealand, there's a new continent that just crested the ocean. We now have.
I forgot about that. You're right. That island that they watched happen. I did have that story. We were going to talk about it one morning, and we just had too much other stuff. Yes, ma'am. I did see that story where they watched it happen. Form. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So now we're 8 continents instead of 17.
And how big is this continent? I never heard about this.
Yeah, it's on the other side of New Zealand.
No, I said how big is it?
Fairly large.
Yeah, well, it's smaller than New Zealand, but it's not an island size thing, right?
It's coming up. It just crested the ocean now, so it's all underneath.
I probably still have that in my show folder if I could dig in deep.
So I got a question. Stop time photography of the stars from both poles shows that in this you can see where the North Star is and where the South Star is in the sky. How do you explain that?
Well,
in a
there's
flat
really
Earth?
not an actual southern star per se. There's what they call the southern crux, which is a kind of a blank spot in the sky. You have to have a really powerful scope or binoculars or.
But you know what I mean with the stop time photography of the sky, and you can see how all the stars swirl around.
Right. The swirls, right. So, okay, the models, again, that we're playing around with here are all about the sky being this huge clock, if you will, above us that was put in place, if you will, for reasons. That's what the moon is. That's why months work like they do. That's why the female system is tied to that clock, if you will. So taking all of that cosmic clock that's above us and trying to break it up into these there's so much stuff I need to show you guys on video. That's what I was trying to explain about the cosmic egg idea, with the different bodies being the suns of these distant lands, and how that can work with the sun being different and not actually what we understand. And I've already lost your question. What was your question, Mike? I got spun out on that one. What
basically, trying to how do you explain with your model how the stars rotate?
Okay, the stars.
At the North Pole. Absolutely. And at the South Pole.
So, again, if you take all of this model that people have, what's his name, Dr. Zach, put all of this stuff into a computer model that you're talking about, trying to figure it out. And when you have the, first of all, it would be like sitting at the equator trying to film both of these things, you know what I'm saying, in like real time is practically impossible. So you're looking one direction or you're looking the other. I've only seen one alleged video from the alleged equator showing both spinning, and that's just not possible in the size world Earth that they tell us. It can't be resolved in any of the shit we've seen. So that being said, Dr. Zach took all of this information and tried to replicate with the best atmospheric simulator that was out at the time he made this video, which is probably, I guess, about 2 years ago now. Dr. Z put this video out. But when you do the star trails, what you're talking about, in a model that has no atmosphere in it, it does only one spin at the North Pole Polaris star. When you start putting the firmament dome into the picture, when you start layering in those atmospheric things, and I don't remember if it was AutoCAD, if it was one of the real high-end 3D replicators. It's not just like GIMP or something on your computer for free. It's a high-end thing. When he put all this together and threw the atmosphere on it, all of a sudden weird shit started happening. All these things that we keep asking, how can there be southern star trails? Well, there they were. Don't know why. Some kind of mirroring effect, possibly, that's going on up there. Some kind of firmament. Let's see, what's the word? Like not vortex, damn it. A magnet that has the field. Torus field. Okay, so a torsion field. Think
torsion
about
field.
A torus field. Right. Think
Torsion.
about that. So if you're looking at the North Pole area and looking at the North Star and seeing that ahead of you, so what's going on behind you, quote unquote, to the south of you is basically a reflection in the firmament. And this is just me talking off the top of my head. What you need to see is what we're working on, this very thing with Cammie and some of the stuff she's come up with the sky and the stars and the moon and how all this crap can work. I mean, she's doing stuff at this point that's making our team, which we've been at this a minute, and she's got us all scratching our heads and having to take a minute and do some research and go, wait, okay, I'm seeing that. Like, for instance, do you know the little Miroscope toy? You could used to get it at the science store at the mall. It was the little, imagine a little shallow bowl that's got a mirror surface on the inside that has a lid that's of the exact same dimensions of mirrored surface on the inside. When you put it together, it's like a little tiny UFO, but on the top, there's a little hole. So now you take a little toy frog, and you set it down inside that hole at the bottom of the mirror section. Now suddenly there is a hologram. Right. There's a hologram floating in the air above that hole. Well, not just is that thing being propagated with light waves, you can take a flashlight, shine it on that hologram that's not even in reality in front of you, and it reflects off the hologram as if you're shining it down into the hole on that toy. Well, Cammie took this, put an ice cube down inside the Miroscope, and took some temperature readings across above the hole, way farther away than would be logical for any kind of radiation of the cold down inside the bowl, and is getting a serious temperature drop. So this thing is propagating every possible wave, not just light waves, cold. So if you start talking about things again being waves and
particles at the same time.
I'm sorry?
They're waves and particles at the same time.
There you go. I was trying to get to the split experiment too, and I just got again derailed, and I'm trying to read chat and everything else here. So
until you're trying to put your awareness on it, it's like the Schrodinger's cat kind of thing, where
exactly
we don't know. They found out that everything's a particle and a wave until you put your awareness on it and decide what it's going to be, or what it's going to be shaped like, or whatever. So we are creating it as we go along.
Now, we definitely seem, that's exactly what I keep coming back to, that this thing is our consciousness interacting with some kind of matrix world that we are creating by the second, truly.
It's the photon waves and particles that make up everything.
And the things we all agree upon are solid and firm, and here's a table. We agree.
And
there's
the minute
a chair.
we all
agree. But as soon as it becomes esoteric, weird shit, that's when we start getting Bigfoots and weird shit that nobody understands. And I saw it. You didn't see it. It was right there. I didn't see it,
Your coloring book, your crayons, I'm going to color it the way I want, and you color it the way you want. And, if the energies are powerful enough, basically you've got enough thought process or focus, because where you focus, that's where your energy goes.
Absolutely.
So,
and where your frequency too, where you're at with your personal journey, your personal frequency.
You worry about, when you worry about things and you come up with all these little pictures of how it's going to be, like what if, and they get really scary. And then pretty soon, exactly what you honed in on, were worried the most about, that's what happened. And it wasn't because all the signs were there. It's because you made it happen by choices and decisions, with that stuff rolling in the back of your head. So worry is really like a specialty emotion. You only use that to warn you or to think about it and then put it in your back pocket, but don't dwell on it. You know, like you gotta do something, then put it away.
I agree.
And we go at it.
Yeah.
We like our story.
I actually have to ask a question. This is Mr. Joey Poop, and I'd like to ask
Joey
you.
Poop.
Yeah. How come that you can get photographs of the ISS from amateur photographers, and why wouldn't you not believe in the ISS?
Well, 3 or 4 reasons can come to mind. I've seen way too many bad faked videos from the ISS, and I don't really have to point those out to you. You probably have been shown them. They're out there. Google bubbles in space. Explain that to me. How are all these guys outside working on the ISS, and suddenly a little bubble pops up out of what they're working on, rolls across their helmet up into above camera? Looks like they're in water to me. And then let's talk about that ISS. I used to work on video games. I used to repair them back in the good old days when there was actual arcades. Every wire had to be harnessed, wrapped, secured, tied down, locked in place. I couldn't have anything hanging, dangling, any of that, or my stuff got shut down. It wouldn't get the licensing. I couldn't put the arcade games out on the floor if they were like that. But this multi-gazillion dollar thing that is the ultimate human achievement of technology is an OSHA nightmare. There's wires hanging, tubes outside, inside, flapping, flinging, waving in the breeze. Makes no sense. That's just logic there for me. Now, how can it be floating above us in the sky that I can track it on this app that shows me it's coming by, and I look up with my telescope and boom, there it is.
Okay.
There's some very advanced technology that we don't have a clue about out there. I've seen a picture of the U-2 plane that flying overhead looks pretty much like a U-2. Like the ISS. I've seen drones that can fly over and duplicate the ISS. There are many, many explanations for things like satellites, Hubble pictures. There's a thing called SOFIA. It's this NASA plane that has a huge telescope out the side, and the pictures that come from it resemble a whole lot like what we're told come from the Hubble. It's called SOFIA, SOFIA. Go check it out. I've got different videos out on my channel on IRAM, different channels of them watching satellites from places like Antarctica and the North Pole, and they're hanging on balloons. That's what they are. They're hanging on balloons. Well, how can a balloon ever be able to stay in place for it to be accurate for like geopositioning, global positioning, all that? Well, during the hurricane aftermath in Puerto Rico, when all of their infrastructure was down, they had no internet, no electricity, nothing. This company devised a way to put balloons in place that stayed in place over the island of Puerto Rico during their build back to provide them internet and phone connections and all that. Well, if they can do that over this little island for months on end to keep these balloons in place, I'm pretty sure they're way ahead of it in the ability to keep satellites in place or whatever.
Well, it's pretty simple. All they would have to do is tether the balloons somewhere on the earth.
Yeah. Somewhere. We used to have some actually off the coast here in Louisiana that were for like drug smugglers or whatever watching the coastline that were huge blimps tethered off that were miles and miles up there that I'm sure had quite a view.
Okay,
anyway,
so
there's too much fakery associated with any of the space agencies.
Okay, I'm going to have to agree with you. And how can you trust an agency that is giving all kinds of bullshit? So we really can't trust them. And I agree with that. But what about like Aristarchus, who
Eratosthenes? Oh wait, Aristarchus.
Eratosthenes, the guy who figured out the circumference of the Earth to a couple thousand years ago.
Okay, well here's my question.
But by when it the sun shines down through the well, and he noticed in this city, and he's in another city, and he notices at the same time of day that the sun does not shine down the well.
Well, what we were told is that he's in one city waiting for this well to line up, while his associate is in the other city 500 miles away, I believe it was. waiting for this timing to occur so that they could coordinate and match up their shadows. Okay, this is how many thousands of years ago?
It's 2,000 approximately.
How were they communicating across 500 miles?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
That was my first question.
What'd they do?
My first question.
Yeah.
And then how do we know that well was plumbed straight?
Well, I don't think they needed to communicate directly. They knew they were going to do it at the certain time, at the certain. One of them would have to travel back to the other ones so that they could review the results.
I'm sure that that's all possible. But the question really remains is, how was that all set up? Do you know the equations he used? We've studied them.
Not exactly, but I know how it works.
But I do. That's what I'm saying. We do. It's spherical trigonometry.
Well, basically, he figured out the angle difference and the distance.
But he has to start.
So by using that, the circumference of the Earth can be figured out.
But that's what I'm trying to explain. To start his whole process, he has to assume a sphere. That's what spherical trigonometry is. So you're starting with the assumption of a sphere to prove that it's a sphere. And that's not how proof works. That's just not how it works. You can't start with an assumption to prove your point. That's what a whole lot of science is based on. If you take that... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hold on to that thought, because we're at the top of the hour. And we're going to come back with your questions. We're going to open up the lines when we come back, buddy. All right, if that's okay. That was one of my old, that's my old band. Not the greatest recording, but it was original. They can't ding me on YouTube for that one.
Nice.
I don't know if you could hear it very well through Discord.
I heard it. Yes, I was cranked up over here. So
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to do some more stuff soon. I'm starting to get more into, and I'm going to throw some more music together for my, I got some pretty cool songs coming up.
Well, I made a real mad run dash to go get me some cold tea and ran to the bathroom. So I completely forgot what I was trying to tell you as the break came up, but I know I was into it, damn it, and I lost it.
Damn. I don't know if anybody else remembers because I did the same thing, and now I can't remember what you were talking about.
I know I was running so fast trying to miss. I didn't know how short the song would be, and I didn't want to miss.
I had to go get a doobie. So
we'll get it right. I was loading ice up.
Well, I think I remember the question was about. Was it the ISS or was it?
That's where we were.
No, it wasn't the ISS. It was about.
Past that.
No, we were past that. Mm-hmm. Damn.
Damn it. Where you at, JP?
It's hell getting old, isn't it?
I know. That's what you nailed it, Leona. You nailed it exactly. Yes,
I ate that. It's like walking into
Hell,
a
I'll
room.
walk in a
You
room
know
to
what
grab-
you're gonna get. Yeah, you
Why
walk
am I
into
in
a
this
room, you
room?
know what
Yes.
you want, and you get to the doorway, and then suddenly it's just gone.
What am I
Just like
doing?
it empties out.
Well, whatever it was, we'll find it again, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mars has a path in the sky that at one point it seems to go backwards upon itself. And that's,
Mars.
You talking about stellar aberration?
Talking about the path of Mars in the sky.
Yeah, that happens with everything. Like the whole system up there. Like if you check out all this stuff over time,
you know, like the path
shows
of
up.
Mars is how they figured out that that we're in a solar system that revolves around the sun. Because of the path of Mars in the sky, they were able to figure
That's
that
just
out.
like they figured out the speed of light by the Jovian moon. I mean, I know all this stuff. It's just not working out when you extrapolate it out to the biggest picture. Like, okay, we're going around the sun once every 12 months. That's a year, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
What
Can I
is
also let's include in this the moon phase, not moon phases, but it's similar to moon phases of Venus. So
absolutely,
because it always has a dark
Venus
part to
at
the
night. So does Mercury.
It never
Mercury also
shows
has
like the
phases
dark
at
side's
night.
always facing the sun, and it's always a crescent shape, and it always the dark side of the Venus.
Oh man, Mercury.
faces
See, I'm gonna
the
get
sun.
lost because you're making me think of so many things here. Okay, real quick on Mercury. Okay, Mercury's between us and the sun, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But we see it at night and we see it early in the morning before sunrise. In other words, we see it during the dark times. We see Mercury. It only happens a few times a year, but it does happen. And it also, Mercury traverses the sun. And I've seen quite a few videos of that from different people, both
When it goes retrograde or
Right. So now, okay, if it's between us and the sun, how are we seeing it at night? Well, the explanation I was given is its hugely elliptical orbit lets it get that far out on its ellipse so that we can see it for a few hours in the darkness before the sun comes up, and it's now between us and the sun. Okay, I'll buy that. Well, just last week, I read a story on our show that we've now been told by the scientific community that Mercury is in a perfectly circular orbit that somehow allows it to be our nearest neighbor, not Venus. Well, I thought this was all settled science that was settled thousands and hundreds of years ago. What kind of questions am I asking if all this is settled science? Well, it's not settled science. Even the real scientists, I hope you heard those air quotes, are taking this model apart daily. Just like the moon. The moon is now within the Earth's atmosphere. Are you aware of that? According to science, not according to us crazy flat earthers, according to science, the moon is now considered to be within the Earth's atmosphere. Go look it up. It's insanity. What the fuck's that? I thought it was in space, but no, it's in our atmosphere now.
they don't know.
They don't know. They're making
And,
it up.
the funny
But
thing
the
is,
moon and the sun.
most of the galaxies they have been finding have two suns, and their bigger planets, like our Jupiter and Saturn, are actually closer to the sun, and the smaller planets are further out. And we're the exact opposite. And
oh yeah, that was it. You reminded me. The stars, right? The sun and the stars. Okay, so we traveled around the sun once a year. Once a year, that's a year. So nighttime or midnight, let's say midnight, is when the Earth is turned 180 degrees away from the sun. Correct? That's what our nighttime is. That's what darkness is on the Earth, according to the model. Okay, so if we're traveling around the sun once every 6 months, shouldn't we see a completely different sky because we're looking at the other side of the moon, of the sun's darkness? If you just think it through a minute.
Well, the sun doesn't have darkness. Basically, we turn away from the sun.
No, that's what I'm saying. But every 6 months,
but we're not as at a tilt as
every 6 months we're on the other side of the sun. Every 6 months we're on the opposite side of the sun. Right. So our night is now the opposite side of the sun. But we see the same stars. Yeah, they shift. But every 3 years they shift right back. That's what stellar aberration is. And that doesn't make any sense if we're traveling 66 million miles an hour through this solar system. I mean,
but you also got to remember that the universe is expanding too. So those stars are actually probably all dead by the time the light gets to us on some of them. So, you know, and the sun's round too, and it changes shape because it's burning hydrogen. You know, and then there's a magnetic field around it too.
Yes.
And ours too. And as we get in alignment with the black hole in the center of the universe, in the center of the galaxy, that pull from that is making it change. And so, yeah, all bets are off on the formula.
So the stars look the same because they're so far away, 10,000 light years away, and when we're on the other side of the sun, we're only 15 minutes closer. In light years, 15 minutes versus 10,000 years.
Greetings, Darren.
Hey, I hear myself yelling.
Yes. Echo. You're talking to the other.
Hi, Walt.
What's up, Darren?
The other dimensions.
I could hardly hear you either. I heard you fussing about something, though. Damn it. I think I did hear you say about relativity, and I understand. That's what relativity is about. When Planck sent 3 probes into space to figure out how fast the Earth was actually rotating, they all came back saying the Earth was not rotating. When Michelson and Morley were trying to replicate showing there's no ether, they actually turned out and it showed that there's motion to the Earth. So repeatedly we've been shown, or we haven't, but repeatedly it has been shown there's no motion to this planet that we're supposedly sitting upon. There's a guy named Robert Sugenis who's a geocentrist. He doesn't think the Earth is flat. He just thinks the Earth is motionless and it is the center of the world, of the universe, whatever.
Okay.
So that's what relativity was put in place for. That's why Einstein's wife came up with relativity. They couldn't let her be the one. They used him to put these ideas out there. If you go back and look at
they used her mathematics. That's
right,
why.
Exactly. It's all a big ruse. It's not anything we've been told about him. Right, but they couldn't have a lady giving all this good information.
Of course not.
So, yeah. So it's all a made-up thing, man. And the reason for relativity is to explain the lack of motion relative to space, to stars, to all of that shit. It doesn't move, so we got to figure out why.
Actually, they were talking about time. And, you know, its time is relevant to where you are in space. And so it's not necessarily how fast you go. And we do spin, but we're not just motionless. The whole universe expands like
the whole universe, the whole solar system, everything in the solar system.
You know, everything's cyclical. And like I said, nothing is impossible until it's possible. And then we know very little. And imagine this, what we actually see with the eyes that we have, we see only 3%. So how much are we missing? And, you know, now since everything's cyclical and now we're getting a pull from not just a black hole from our own galaxy, but one from the center of the universe, it's like we're a big pachinko game and all the slots are lining up. Right. Well, when that happens, we get all this stuff and prior to this, when we just lined up with the one in the galaxy, we've always had an evolutionary leap. You know, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution. So, and it takes 100 years to get into the middle of the belt there. So, now they've just found a black hole that is acting like a white hole. And it's on the other side of the sun.
Oh, well, they
instead of sucking, it's spitting.
Okay, but
it's not a white hole.
Right,
a
white hole. That's throwing.
I know.
Right.
No, it is a black hole acting like a white hole, but it's still a black hole.
Okay, but what about a pink hole?
I have, I guess, one of those somewhere.
I like pink holes better.
All this big fervor over the last few weeks about the amazing picture of black holes. Oh, we finally got one. Man, I've got pictures of black holes from like 2009, 2004, 2012. It's not new. It's something we've been photographing, quote unquote. They've just pushed it out into the front. Now that's the new space lettuce this week, which is what we kind of call these stories.
They really don't know what it is.
Over and over and over and over. How many times have you guys heard about them growing lettuce in space for the first time ever? I heard that, 100 different times growing up. In the 70s they did it. In the 80s they did it. On the shuttle they did it. In Skylab they did it. I mean, that's why we kind of call our little joke on the show is we call it space lettuce. That's what we call our little segment because it's the same story over and over. It's now Space Force. Right.
Brown hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Brown hole sun, won't you come? And wash away the rays. Oh yeah. Can you dig it? All right.
Walt, I got.
Where are you? There it is, Darren. What you got?
All right. I'm putting myself in a situation where I believe the Earth is flat, just like you described. How many people on Earth that aren't flat earthers, that are scientists and stuff, know that it's flat and keep it from the public?
That know and keep it from the public? I would say probably less than 300 or 400, if that. I talked about that a little earlier. Maybe you weren't hearing it, but it's just people who are in positions. The only time I've ever heard someone that worked at or for NASA saying they overheard another person working at NASA implying that they were part of a cover-up to fool the public, both times those people wound up being flat earthers. And both times it was always associated with the imaging department and the people coming out of that imaging department headed to lunch, headed to break, laughing it up about how they're putting it over on the public. Two different people had that happen as they worked for NASA, and they are both now flat earthers.
Do you have any friends that are flat earthers that have hopped back on the globe in the last couple of years?
The only 3 people that I know of that happened to is a gentleman named Tiger Dan, who was working on a map, who was doing some incredible work on perspective and sun, and he was really the next level kind of thinker. And he was working on a map.
Oh, we got a glitch here, folks. He'll be right back.
He's trying to put a map together.
There he is.
And he had said repeatedly that if he ever said he was a baller, or if he ever started saying he was not working on anything, got weird, it was because he had been compromised in some way. Because a friend of his who had been doing some other work, if you will, on this type of stuff had been threatened, and he quit doing it. So now, go about 3 months into Tiger Dan's work, suddenly his map is crazy. I don't know what I was thinking, and it all disappeared. There's another friend of ours on Twitter who allegedly was in our group. He was part of forming the Iron Realm team, and then suddenly he started having doubts about rockets in space and how they would or would not work, and then suddenly we started getting all this flack from him, and then we found out that he was actually somebody that seemed to be an Israeli.
Or something.
I'm sorry?
What happens if you get to the edge of the Earth and fall off the edge of the Earth? Like, are you going to actually fall, or what happens? Do you go in space? And what do you think?
I don't know. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, as we've looked at
like
this,
I mean, like say you're on an ocean cruise, like should you be taking a parachute with you?
Yeah, right. I don't really think there's that whole idea. I mean, I think that's more just like that. Just what you did is to try to make it all seem silly and jokey because of the pictures with the boat halfway off the edge of the earth and all that shit. I mean, all the maps that I've come across that are supposedly ancient maps that are showing the true world don't show an edge. They don't show anything but more land beyond what we're calling an ice wall. And the only reason we're calling it as an ice wall is because people like Magellan tried to go around Antarctica and died on a trip that should have only taken a couple of years and took him 45? I can't remember how long it took. His crew had to finish the trip around this little tiny island at the bottom of the globe. People like, you said earlier there, Admiral Byrd saying that it's not at all what we've been told. So the idea of there being an end, an edge, a fall-off point, I don't really think that's true. Now, I don't know. Haven't been there. We could be on a freaking pizza planet for all I know. Plane. But it could be an endless plane. There could be little domes spread out to infinity across an endless field of snow. I don't know. I don't have a clue. I just know that the shit they tell us it isn't adding up.
So if we all find out that we're on a flat Earth, what advantage would that be to humanity?
To wake up from the lies that we labor under on a daily basis that convinces us that we have to pay for shit that we can grow out of the ground, that we have to pay for energy that's free in the air.
Yeah, I agree with that. That there's a lot of stuff that we need to we should already have anti-gravity machines, and we should already we shouldn't be burning gasoline anymore. That's ridiculous. We have way better technologies than that that's not being given to us, that they know about for years. And
I think they not only have known about it for years, I think it's really the key to a lot of this. I think that flat Earth is actually a bigger distraction to keep us from finding out about the free energy that really exists on this plane. That's really, this was fed to us. Flat Earth didn't happen by accident. This whole thing that we're doing right now, the conversation was put in place to keep us distracted and doing this back and forth and, oh, you're crazy, and oh, you're stupid, and oh, you're an idiot. Because when we're spending this time going back and forth over obvious shit, we could be unraveling the secrets of the fucking 369 or, all the Tesla stuff.
You're an idiot, sir. I'd like to ask you about the Titanic.
All right, go ahead.
I'm just going to eat some enchiladas first.
All right.
No, I can't do Kurt. I was trying to do Kurt. You remember that last time he came in and called you an idiot?
Oh, yeah. I was demon possessed, I think. If I remember right.
Yeah, you're possessed.
Demons.
Yeah,
it was
you're
making
possessed
me do
by
this,
demons.
I remember that.
Yes, sir.
He called him an idiot or you're stupid.
I do have to say, guys, it has been a very enjoyable time here. I really didn't know what to expect after the last time I was here with the crew, but man, it has been very good. I've had a blast, and the questions have been great. And until Darren showed up, I'm just kidding. It's been great.
The man of 1,000 questions. Actually, I have another question. How do you explain?
Yes.
How do you explain the midnight sun on the South Pole in the summertime, and the same effect happens on the North Pole? This has been recorded and documented.
No, it has. It sort of has. I've only seen a few videos that we've all sat down with and broken apart. There's cuts, there's edits. There's never been a complete unedited one. We've looked for it. We want that. I have a buddy that works in the Arctic Circle. I've been trying to get him to do it for me for 4 years now, and he just doesn't. He's working, and so it's hard for him to set up and do all the shit he would need to do it. It's never been put out by anyone except people who have a vested interest in trying to keep this lie in place. Drilling companies, power companies, people who do have an interest in the world still being what we're believing it is. So I don't know. I can't say I haven't been there, man. Honestly, it is something we're worried about figuring out. We are definitely trying to worry about the sun and how it works, how it could possibly do all the things we see it doing that really don't add up to any logical sense.
Walt, do you have a regular day job, and what do people say when you tell them you think the Earth is flat, or do you not talk about it, or do they get angry? It happens.
I was in a wreck about 2010, and I've been disabled since that wreck, so I do not currently have a day job. This is kind of what I have been doing. I recovered after that wreck for about, 3 years, 4 or 5 surgeries. In fact, I was recovering and pretty much at the bottom of my, I was scraping bottom. I was really having a rough time with this and lawsuits and the whole 9 yards. And that's kind of when I was out doing some sky watching, trying to get my head out of the worldly bullshit that I was immersed in, and saw the lunar wave. And that led me to looking at crow stuff, which kind of led me to being here talking to you guys. So I unfortunately am, I'm not.
Well, what about like if you go to a conference, or have you ever run into somebody?
Socially, here's where I'm at with that. Most of my family, my immediate family, are all aware of my life, not just where I'm at now in the last 4 or 5 years. They know that I've been on a quest for truth my whole life. They were aware when I was out talking to, the UFO people and the cryptozoology people. I mean, I've been at this. So for them to see me now suddenly with this question is not too strange. Yeah, it's the strangest question I've been asking so far. But now the other side of the coin is acquaintances. Some know, some don't, just because, the group of folks I hang out with and do karaoke and maybe have a drink or two is a whole different mindset than the group that I sit around and talk flat earth with. And that's just, unfortunately, how the world is, Do
you speak at flat earth conferences?
I haven't spoken at one that, there's not been one close enough to me to, I was asked to go to the one that's going on in the UK last year and to go to the one that's going on this year, but I just don't have the means to make a, across the pond trip at this point in my life. Which is the crew in the UK, the group of people over there that are doing what they're doing, Roxanne, Globe Denier, Robin, the Flat Earth UK convention. If you have a minute to go check out what they're doing over there, man, they are really opening this thing up. There's a group with a van. They're going across country. There's guys here from America. Some of the bigger names like Daryl Marble and Paul on the Plane. They're going to go over there and drive with Jason Dinsbury across like a 14-mile expanse, and they're going to stop in all these cities and talk to people about this. And at the end, they're going to wind up at the Flat Earth Conference in the UK. And yeah, it's really blowing up. It really is.
Do you think it's possible that the Earth is round, but it's not perfectly round? So like the mathematics get off, maybe it's way less
very
round
possible.
than we thought.
That's actually something we've looked at, Darren, for sure.
Actually, can I extrapolate on his question and just say, what evidence do you have to support that the Earth is round?
You mean flat?
No, round.
No,
because I know that Walt, he is an expert on both sides of the coin here. So what evidence have you gathered to support the other side that the Earth is a sphere?
Oh, you are asking me that. Are you asking Aaron that or me that?
You, Walt.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know you must know both sides of the coin here.
Pretty well. Everything that we've discussed, truly, if you do start with trigonometry and spherical trigonometry and do the well experiment, you do come up with a sun that's pretty far out there. It's not 93 million miles away, but it's pretty far out there. If you do all of these things with a ball mindset, it works. If it didn't work, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So, there's really I guess it kind of goes back to the question: what would it take for me to become a ball earther again? It would really have to be earth shattering. It would have to be amazing. It would have to be on the level of a live 360 feed of me watching it launch, me seeing the camera feed going up. It would be a very involved thing. It wouldn't be me just going, oh, cool, a video, Earth's round again. It would be me involved in some observation, experiment, test. I hate to use experiment as a word, but it's, it's just, it would have to be something hands-on for me to.
Like to go up in SpaceX.
Even that would be questionable, because I'm then lending myself over to their machine. And unfortunately, I know way too much about MK Ultra and mind control techniques to not think that at some point they could not alter my perceptions in vast ways. In fact, I'm not sure that most astronauts probably are convinced they've been to space.
Has there ever been a scientist that made you scratch your head like, like the best argument for a round Earth versus flat?
Actually, there was a gentleman just a few weeks back. I watched Mark Sargent debate a guy, Jeff. Oh, man, I can't remember his last name, but he is a scientist, astrophysicist. He's with a group that's trying to kind of put...
bottom of the hour. He's a physicist. I'll remember it this time.
Every dollar will be put into
He's a physicist.
50-50 draw. You could be our next winner. Follow us on Spreaker.com or get the mobile app, the Spreaker podcast app, and follow Monster Castle Paranormal and Dirty Rotten Taro, Wolfman Mike 47 on Spreaker and Skype for calls, and in Twitter as well. And join us in hashtag 47Talk for live interaction in Twitter. Alright, yeah. Make a call to the station at Wolfman Mike 47 on Skype, 775-990-8447 in the United States, and 226-271-3466 in Canada. Thank you, and shut up, Melvin Spacely. Trying to do a commercial here. Alright, yeah. Fantastic.
And we're back. And those numbers are 360-313-8339 if you want to call in. The Canadian number is 226-317-3331. The American number is 360-313-8339. Hope I don't confuse you guys with all that.
I feel like I'm 17.
Oh, you're back. Kurt, are you really there? I just...
No, that's JP.
Because, wow, I just played him. That was great. You fooled me, JP.
Yes. The ghost of Kurt.
All right, go back to the scientist.
Oh,
yes, you were talking about a physicist.
Yes, I'm digging through my YouTube history so I don't say the wrong name again. Mark Sargent, debating a gentleman who's a scientist, and his whole thing is trying to combine spirituality with science, which is a pretty cool, thought, idea. What is it? I can't find it. I've got too much crap in my I watch way too much stuff on YouTube, man.
Oh, just let us know the point. It doesn't matter his name.
The point was the guy really didn't come across as an ass. He really listened to Mark and made some really good points. I can't really say anything he asked was anything we haven't kind of dealt with or covered or really kind of put a pin in at this point. But it's just good to have someone not come at you. Like you guys might have been great. Like I said earlier, I dealing with some people I've dealt with over the years, asking just inane stuff to, straw man arguments and just anything else, ad hominem, whatever. It's refreshing to have real questions that are thought out and not just knee jerk. Hey, you're an idiot. This is what's going on. You're stupid. And that's really where a lot of people's knee jerk goes back to. The guy's name was Dr. Jeff Zweerink, and he's with Reasons to Believe. And the channel is The Fallen State over on YouTube. Go check it out. It was a very good And I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Sargent. I'll tell you that up front. I have a lot of issues with his message, with his theories, with what he thinks is going on. But he presented himself well, and the gentleman really handled it well. So it was refreshing to see that. Do you guys know who Owen Benjamin is?
No.
Wonder. He's a comedian. He's had a few specials here and there. Pianist, I think, was one of his specials. Wow. Anyway, he's been blowing up lately.
Excuse me, did you say he had a big penis?
I said the special was Big Pianist. I did indeed. He's a comedian who's kind of got a little thing going of late. He spent some time breaking apart the whole moon landing hoax, and from that he started talking flat earth on his live stream, and it started catching, of course, the flat earth community's attention. I think he might be the one that's going to make this thing get big, really big. 2 nights ago, there was a live debate with him and David Weiss, who's an amazing flat earther from deep inside the Red Hole channel. At an hour and a half, 2 hours before this event started streaming live, there were like 3,000 of us waiting in this chat room for this thing to begin. And which is astounding. I mean, on a good week, we'll have a few hundred. Even Glowbusters on a good week will only have 300 or 400. So for there to be that many people waiting, at one point the viewers were up to almost 9,000. Wow. It's really getting big. It really is. And they're asking some good questions.
I have a great suggestion for a test that you can do. Just get a whole bunch of people to hold hands and just keep stretching all the way around the world. And if you got to you got to go on a boat or whatever. Until you get all the way around and then see if the other, you grab someone else's hand from across the world, from everybody holding hands.
Have you met any pilots that are flat? Have you met pilots that are flat?
Many.
Everybody hold hands.
Flown across the ice wall.
No, the only person that we ever had any interaction with who alleged that he had been in any way in contact with the ice wall or with the barrier is a gentleman named John Brahma. He was on our show about 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. He approached us at Iron Rim, telling us that he was a member of the team who guarded the barrier, and that his team had seen so many things that broke up their reality and broke up their worldview and broke up their spiritual mindset and where they were with their self, to the point that they could not maintain the lie anymore. And so they, like 14 of his people on this crew, were convinced that they would take a team to the edge, let them video, film, etc., and return with this world-breaking information. The problem was, and where we were very hesitant to even have him on our show, was that, of course, there was a price tag attached. And every time he was on the show, we gave everybody a caveat. We're not promoting John. We're not telling you to send this man money. Behind the scenes, he had offered me a ticket, another gentleman on our team a ticket, and a third guy who's no longer on our team a ticket to go. And I was ready. I mean, I literally was getting my passport together. I was headed to the edge. And then he got a big donation, allegedly, from some outside source to go do the thing with that crew and not have anybody else involved or something like that. And then he just disappeared. And I check on his little page on Twitter and his little website occasionally just to see if they've returned with their earth-shattering, I figure he's probably somewhere counting Bitcoin. That's probably where he wound up. But other than that, nobody I know has said anything about the edge or the beyond other than Admiral Byrd. Now, I know pilots, been on my show, been on Glowbusters. Hell, Bob himself is a pilot. And they will tell you, it's flat. I mean, period. Gyroscopes don't work on a spinning ball. Gyroscopes hold rigidity in space. That's what they do. John Savage on our team did a 24-hour experiment with gyroscopes showing there's no motion over a 24-hour period. There should be 15 degrees of motion during that time, and there's not. He's done that experiment with critiques from ballers that have come into his chat and said, "Oh, you have to remove the wire." He did. "Oh, you have to remove the bearing tension." He did. "Oh, you have to do this." He did. Everything they critiqued, he did. And there was still no motion over a 24-hour period, and there should be 15 degrees of that motion. So yeah, there's pilots, there's gunnery people, there's snipers who will tell you there's no accounting for Coriolis at all.
Liana was saying something. Did you have a question, Liana?
I still got one, actually.
No, I didn't.
I got a question. Has there ever been any testing or experiments done using lasers with multiple stations of, say, people that do surveying experts or whatnot, surveyors, and maybe have have them in a string, though, so that they're a certain amount of miles maybe apart from each other and a certain amount of sea level off the ground, and then see how the lasers line up?
I'm trying to remember the mileage on the last laser test that we did that was successful there in England with the English crew. That, like I said, half of my team is in England. Like John Savage and Adam Meakin are both, they're over there. So anything that's happening over there, they're usually part of it. They're in person. If they're not, then there's people that they know and have met and have, vetted and know that we can trust, and they go to these events. And so there was, I think it was 40 miles. I hate to tell you that's what it was. And if it was more, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was a 40-mile laser test. And it did show, all the way across. It showed that it didn't get cut off. There was no curve, etc. There was an attempt made. I probably told you that earlier in the show. Now that I think about it, that there was an attempt made last weekend at Lake Pontchartrain, but just the weather was not working out. It was way too windy and too choppy to even get out there on a boat. So it is something that we are always looking to do, looking for a way to show the flatness.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it the first time that we talked. I suggested doing a laser test on a very calm day over a body of water that's a fairly good size, but it has to be calm. So that's a hard condition to find, actually. So the best way to do it is actually with the laser test and have some surveyors to. And yeah,
surveyors. There's surveyors
do an experiment and see if they can somehow. With lasers, you figure it's gonna show the curvature of the Earth, or it should be a pretty much give you the answer to the question in the end of the debate right there with this laser test.
Wow. I was trying to find the laser test to send it over to you, and I'm now seeing that the YouTube algorithm is just incredibly on top of stuff.
I don't know if I'm not gonna. It's hard to explain, but to me, I think the laser test is really but also the eclipse. How do you explain that from different angles, looking at the eclipse, it all shows a round shadow? So the only way that can happen is with a spherical object being shadowed by.
Well, actually, you can do if you take, so if the moon is supposedly a sphere, and
it looks round.
Let me close this. Hold on, I was trying to find that laser test, and now I've got a video playing in the background. Damn it! Hang on.
Well, I don't think that Mike was saying that he was looking at the moon was round. That the shadow from the shows that the Earth is round.
Yeah, because no matter.
Okay, so the eclipse, yes. Let me say
no matter where you are on the Earth, it still shows a curved, like a spherical shadow. Because from any direction, it shows the same, and it could be a little up.
Okay, well let me ask you guys this:
higher up or lower on the moon?
Can you right now in the room?
But the shadow's always curved.
Can you right now in the room you're sitting with any light source that you have at your disposal, or go outside with the sun, or use a flashlight on your phone, any light source, if you can make a red shadow, then that would be a long way for me even to begin to believe that the moon has anything to do with the eclipse of the sun. or vice versa, that the Earth has anything to do with the eclipse of the moon, which is actually not.
No, that's not what he was asking. He was asking.
Okay, I could actually duplicate that red shadow. I've done this experiment, and I made a scale model of our solar system when I was in school, and I had the sun as a light source, and when you eclipse the moon, some of the light gets around that object in front of it. A little bit of it still gets through, so it creates sort of like a reddish-looking shadow. It does.
Well, I've sat here with light sources and balls, styrofoam balls, marble balls, glass marbles. I've done everything I can do to reproduce in the sky what supposedly is occurring with an eclipse, and it doesn't happen. The only time that we've ever come close to even replicating something similar to what we see in an eclipse is Zach Zabala, Good Times for All channel on YouTube, took a Fresnel lens to show that there is a way to make a shadow smaller than the object, which is kind of problematic when when the moon is 2,000 miles across, but its shadow on the Earth is only 70 miles wide. Now, there is no Fresnel lens in space. There's no atmosphere in space. So to use a Fresnel lens to recreate and cause a shadow to be 70 miles wide versus 2,000 miles wide, that really doesn't seem to be an accurate representation of what we're told space is made up of. But it can be done.
Let's go right into this. I've been meaning to ask you, what do you think is up there in space? Is it a liquid, or what the hell is up in space?
At one point, I would have told you that the evidence seems to indicate that there is some type of liquid element to space. Yes. I mean, that's kind of what got me here is I saw the lunar wave occur. So I know that happens. It's not a video trick. It's not anything. I've seen it. That occurs. And that seems to be a very liquid. I've also looked at stars through a very high-powered lens and seen them do what seem to be cymatic oscillations. They don't look like burning balls of gas millions of miles away. They look like oscillating energy. That's what they look like. I then go on YouTube and look up cymatics, and I see patterns made in cymatics out of like sand or liquid or styrofoam balls floating in sound waves, and they look pretty similar to what I'm seeing these stars do. If you look up sonoluminescence, the star in a jar phenomena, there's actually a point where they take sound inside of a liquid medium and in a sealed off liquid medium in a jar and produce a little bubble of sound inside it that when it collapses in on itself creates a freaking star in a jar. That's sonoluminescence.
Okay, so when we talked about the astronauts before, I do think that they let a couple cats out of the bag there when they were talking about the moon ringing like a bell. So obviously, how can you hear that in space? And then they also said they heard strange music coming from the dark, or coming when they were on the
side. Yes, sir.
Some kind of strange music was heard. Yes, they mentioned that in an interview, and they heard
it wasn't. They heard the music when they were in the spaceship.
Okay,
the sound was on a seismograph. It was an earthquake detecting device that they put on the surface.
Okay, and where did the music come from?
That was in Apollo 10, and that was when they were on the far side of the moon.
Yeah.
They picked it up on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
On the radio.
Alleged.
Yeah, thank you. You got that before I did. Hey, look, guys, it's very possible in the world of what we're dealing with that at some point when you get high enough, there is some type of electromagnetic phenomena that we don't understand, that we haven't been privy to, that could explain weightlessness for astronauts that are in space. I hope you're hearing all these air quotes I'm using. There could be freaking balls, a moon that's a giant ball that somehow is suspended by who? I don't know, aliens, beings from outside the ring? I don't know, but it could be floating up there in some medium of electromagnetic flux that I don't understand. But it really doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense to me that that's what's going on when I keep seeing all these faked pictures of all the shit the astronauts are doing. If they're really up there floating around, then why do I have to see all this fake shit left and right constantly? Shouldn't I just be able to see the real video? Shouldn't I be able to watch them go through a hatch out into space without it cutting away? Shouldn't I be able to watch a rocket go from the ground all the way up into space with the camera pointing up into space, not down at the freaking ground? What's downrange? How come rockets go downrange to go up into space? That never made sense to me when I was 4 watching it happen on rocket launches. Sorry, I'm getting a little spun out here.
I don't think you'd see much dark. Well, it'd be blue and then it'd turn black.
So with today's technology of getting space shit done, we can't set a camera up on a rocket pointing up. We have to have them always pointing down.
Well,
I'm just being
the last one
devil's advocate more than anything on that one.
The one I saw had it pointed at the engine, which I found fascinating.
Go ahead.
So how sure in your mind are you that the Earth is flat? Are you like 99% sure, 100% sure?
I am 100% lies I have been fed by the authorities in control are just that. They're lies. There's no doubt about that. And once an authority has lied to me in one respect, then I'm done with them as an authority. So NASA's out the window. All the other space agencies are out the window. Our government, fucking out the window. For me to, I mean, that's kind of what I've done away with, is being 100% convinced I know a fucking thing. I don't know anything. I know less than anything. I know that we get screwed over, that there's all kinds of gains connected to all of this. I mean, 50 million a fucking day. That's plenty enough for this whole thing right there to end this discussion. $50 million a day is enough to fake the flat earth, to keep the space lie going, all of that, regardless of all these esoteric good or bad, who's in control, all these other questions are out the window. 50 million a day is enough for this whole lie to still be in place 60 years later, 50 years later. So I'm not 100% convinced of anything, Darren, at all. That's what this whole thing for me is about, is letting go of being convinced of anything. I'm basically a Missourian now. You need to show me, damn it.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do on this show.
So it just happens that I fell into flat earth as a way to be an immediate flag. Yeah, I'm outside the box. Deal with it. Now let's go. You know, that's kind of where it is for me now. It's not flat. It's not round. It's something I don't understand. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. So after the show, Monster Castle or mcpradio.caster.fm will still be on for a while, probably, guys. And there's a chat room there. And we're getting close to the end of the show here, so if you want to plug your...
Oh, see, it goes fast here just like it does when we're having a blast there. I had no idea we'd been at this long. That's amazing. Man, I've had a blast.
We still have about, I think, 7 minutes left.
About 8, yeah. That's cool.
8.
Yeah, man, great. You guys have been more than accommodating and welcoming, and the questions were amazing, and it was so great to meet you, Jewish producer. To hear you say the things you did about our show, man, in my heart, you just don't know. I've got you. I'm following you there on Twitter now, and I've told the guys in the team already to go start following you and check you out. And we'll hang out with you on Twitter for sure. Yeah. And anybody else, look, we're at Iron Realm Media. You can find us there. I mean, if you go to the ironrealmmedia.com, it's got all the links for us to Facebook and Twitter and all the different places we are. So
I'll have to play this show for my kids again because you're their favorite guest.
That's awesome. Thanks, man.
You remember staying on for an extra hour talking to them that one time?
I do. I sure do. Now that you say that, that's why I'm laughing, because I remember you brought your kids to talk to me. That was great, man. That was amazing. How are they doing these days? Have they looked any further into all this craziness? Great. Are their friends talking about it at school? What's going on out there?
No, they just talk. They do talk about you being their favorite guest ever because you talk.
Well, tell them Walt said hey, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll let him.
Well, at least we're there's a lot of people here that are actually on your side of this. Even Gigi said he was totally on your side of this.
I heard all of this. Like I said, this was definitely a different
so
experience.
it's different and I'm totally open-minded when it comes to it. Like, I don't really know what's going on. I know what they're telling us is lies. That I know. As to what's really going on, I'm not really that sure anymore. But
you have to go watch Apollo 11.
My feeling is that we are on a spherical Earth, but it's not what the way they explain it isn't right either. What's going on in space, it seems to me like it's more of a liquid possibly. The sun is probably fourth dimensional or fifth dimensional or anyways, something like that. It's a singularity. It probably has sentience.
Do you work for the CIA?
No, I do not.
Oh,
I wish I was getting those kind of shield bugs.
Yeah,
man.
which brings me to this one. Somebody, I read an article where they claimed that they were a Secret Service government department whistleblower, and they were just letting everyone to know that the whole flat Earth thing was they started as an experiment.
Right. Oh, that's something we've definitely talked about on our show, behind the scenes, that, none of us were looking for this. None of us, this was given to us in the YouTube feed. Period. End of story.
Yeah. Well,
nothing I was looking
claiming
at about
that they started it.
So for it to have been fed to us, I really don't doubt that at all. Who do you know where that's at? Can you lead me to? I'd like to look into it.
I would like to lead that. I thought you would know, like, who was the very first YouTuber or whatever, or somebody that started doing this. Who did it first? But they probably, it's probably already been erased by
allegedly.
Now. So I don't think you'll find it.
What was it, JP? Or Darren, what was it?
Are there any? There were two guys originally supposedly that said that they started it, but I saw that.
Kind of like Doug and Dave in the crop circles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I guess it's exactly the same thing. Are there any other conspiracies you believe in?
Oh, dude, I'm fully into most everything. The only thing I have issues with anymore is what I used to think about aliens. And all I've done now is move them to the outer lands and off those distant worlds and out of those other dimensions. And they could still be interdimensional for all I know. But other than that, I'm pretty open to everything. In fact, there's a lady who comes on our show, Karen B. She's got a nice Discord Flat Earth chat going, and she is a huge Sasquatch. I call her my Squatch sister because every time we're alone, every time we're talking, that's what we get off on is Sasquatch. So, there's pretty much not much I won't at least look at with an open mind and give it a chance. So,
yeah. Do you believe in gnomes?
I believe that the entities that were the little people are probably a lot of the history of what are aliens too, considered. Think about it. The changeling kids, that's abductions right there, and
how tall is
I think
that?
even Larry Strieber. I'm sorry?
Could the ice wall be like miles high?
For all I know, the ice wall could be a figment of pictures that are feeding us on the frickin', think about where information is presented now. It's here in a controllable environment on the internet. Anything that we're told. That's what I think half of this Mandela effect is just them fucking with the knowledge base to see how much they can do without us all losing our frickin' minds.
So you're not a proponent of the Mandela effect?
I have had a personal Mandela effect that I don't doubt without a doubt. I read at a super early age. I read it too. I had the Berenstein's Bears books because Frankenstein was spelled that way. So, of course, that was the Berenstein's 'S Bears because I didn't know they were the authors and I didn't understand how bears could possess themselves. So I distinctly remember Berenstein's bears that was then changed to the Berenstain Bears around 72 or 73. But they were never the Berenstain Bears without a freaking doubt.
No, that one gets me too.
The rest of it, the Queen song, I've sang that for years, and I know how it ends. The movies, I'm pretty good on trivia. People's memories usually get shaped by the popular shows and culture. Usually that's what they're remembering, not the actual movie quotes. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really interesting, and I've dug into it pretty deep.
It is interesting. They're fun to do.
Yes.
Think back on, yes. JP's into all the Mandela effects. You could do a show with him on it.
That's great. We definitely could. I'm all about checking into it, man. It's something. They're definitely fucking with information. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but right when you have all your
how's it happening though? Is it CERN?
We gotta
Is
say
it
goodbye,
time
everybody.
Warping?
No.
Damn. We got 10 seconds.
Oh shit! All right, man. I had a blast, guys. I thank you all and lady. Thank you. Thank you all.